Mr. Commissioner of Workplace Safety and Health, Ministry of Manpower, ladies and gentlemen, industry colleagues and guests, good morning. It is with great pleasure and a sense of shared commitment that we gather together not only as colleagues but as advocates for a safer, healthier and more secure work environment. We recognize that workplace safety is not merely a compliance measure but an integral part of our collective responsibility to ensure the well-being of every individual within our organization. In this dynamic and ever-evolving landscape, the significance of industry standards cannot be overlooked. Industry standards play a vital role in fostering a secure and thriving work environment and provides a set of guidelines and best practices that companies should adhere to, driving towards continuous improvement and innovation in tandem with workplace safety and health. Without further ado, let's dive into some of the standards developed and implemented for the waste management sector and discover the pathways they offer to elevate our practices and outcomes. Standards development requires private and public partnership. As a national standards body, Enterprise Singapore oversees the Singapore Standardisation Program through an industrial-led Singapore Standards Council, SSC. The SSC collaborates with key stakeholders including industry, professional bodies, and government agencies to advise on policies, strategies, initiatives, and procedures to develop, promote, and review national standards. Enterprise Singapore and SSC work together to identify and develop new voluntary standards, example Singapore Standards, technical reference, and workshop agreement, as well as reviewing existing standards such as International Organization for Standardization, ISO, and International Electrotechnical Commission, IEC, are adopted when possible. Standards developed must be adopted by industry, enterprises, to raise industry competitiveness and productivity, or be stipulated as technical requirements by government agencies to fulfill regulators' requirements. National and international standards are developed based on the principles of transparency, openness, impartiality, consensus, market relevance, and coherence. The objective of ERSC, Environmental and Resources Standard Committee, is to spearhead the development and adoption of standards to address sustainable development. ERSC aims to develop, promote, and support the implementation of standards for climate change mitigation and adaptation, circular economy, water management, sustainable energy, sustainable finance, and technology. Under the purview of ERSC is the Technical Committee for Circularity of Materials, where we aim to cover standardization processes, products and services that close the loop, that closes the solid waste loop, as well as facilitates material and resource circularity. TC also monitor and participate in the development of ISO standards, namely ISO TC 297, Waste Collection and Transportation Management, ISO TC 300, Solid Recovered Fuel, and ISO TC 323, Circular Economy. The overall of ISO TC 297, Waste Collection and Transportation Management, is the point where I'll be touching today. The scope of TP297 is about standardization of machine, equipment, and management systems for collection, temporary storage, and transportation of solid and sanitary liquid waste and recyclables. In this TP, we have 20 participating countries and 19 observing countries as listed above. There are 3 working groups. Ad hoc Group 1, where we look at research and investigation regarding the post-consumer thermoplastic collection and transportation. Work Group 1 on terminology. Work Group 2 on waste collection and transportation. We have 4 published ISO standards. ISO TS 24159, refuse collection vehicle on safety of manual and side-loaded refuse collection vehicles. ISO 24160, refuse collection vehicles on waste order and asset prevention and control. ISO 24161, waste collection and transportation management of vocabulary. ISO 24162, a test method for energy consumption of refuse collection vehicles. We have lastly ISO CT 123155, refuse collection vehicle on terminology of main functional components and performance indicators, which is still under development. If you are interested in all these ISO standards, you can Google the website, make the purchase, and you will have more details from them. It's important to understand the standards and how these standards could then be subsequently assist you in all your tenders for your projects. ISO CT 24161. I would like to briefly mention this ISO, as this was led by Singapore. ISO 24161 was developed taking reference to SF 594, terminology for waste management. SF means Singapore standard. Subsequently, we changed it to an international standard. Countries that participated in the drafting of the standards were Belgium, China, Germany, Japan, Korea, Singapore, and Sweden. The purpose of developing a vocabulary standard is to ensure users to understand the scope of work and the source document for the terms and definition of ISO TP297 to harmonize terms and definitions which will serve as a basis for a common language for regulation, standards, academia, research, and training in the waste management industry. The scope of ISO 24161 is that the document defines the terms that are commonly used in the area of waste collection, transportation, management, and it aims to align the terminology used internationally. The arrangement of terms and definitions in the contract, in the document, is based upon terms corresponding to waste management, collection, and transportation. So the organization of terms is illustrated in the figure shown. Under waste management, it is broken down to waste management and policies, waste categories, and waste management facilities and process. Under collection and transportation, it is broken down to personnel, vehicles, facility equipment, storage, and collection. Giving you examples, right, on the terms and definition of waste management, they will include waste treatment facility, recycling, material recovery, recycling facility, disposal facility. The reason why we are developing the vocabulary is because we realize that in many different countries, all of us are using different names. And here we are promoting the standardization when everybody uses a common language, not just in Singapore, but in international platform as well. The vocabulary also includes the complementary standard of ISO 297 Workgroup 2, Waste Collection and Transportation Vehicles. Such an example would be refuse collection vehicles, direct refuse collection, indirect refuse collection, leaf loader, front loader, and top loader. So there might be some of the terms that we may not even use in Singapore, but it's a common term that we adopt that other countries will use it. The benefits of ISO 24161 it benefits the industry by minimizing fluency, confusion, and understanding of terms used in the waste management industry. Singapore is currently working towards replace SS 594 terminology for waste management with ISO 24161 aligned to international terminology. CNTP 183 waste management is also identically adopting ISO 24161 as EN ISO standards. With the adoption, all European national standard bodies are obliged to take over ISO 24161 and withdraw all possible conflicting national standards, resulting in a further harmonization of waste management terms and definitions worldwide. ISO CD 131 refuse collection vehicle terminology of main functional components and performance indicators is currently under development by ISO PC 297 Book 2. This standard defines the terms and definition of functional components and performance indicators that are commonly used in the area of RCB as defined in the ISO 24161. This again aims to align with the terminology that are used internationally. From waste generation to transportation, process, and disposal are examples of standards. Committees supporting the waste industry standardization. Standardization plays a vital role to waste management by providing specifications, guidelines, best practices, as well as taking into account of workplace safety and health. I've come to the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Organized by the Workplace Safety and Health Council and supported by the Ministry of Manpower, National Trade Union Congress, and the Singapore National Employers Federation. The annual National WSH Forum sets the stage for the nation's year-long outreach effort to promote safety and health in workplaces. The theme for this year's campaign focuses on reporting safe lives. Launched on 23rd May 2023, the National WSH Campaign 2023 calls on every individual, including employers, workers, and members of the public, to do their part in looking out for the safe health of workers by reporting unsafe situations at the workplace. Now, let's watch the National WSH Campaign video to see how a worker should test for co-workers by keeping a lookout for workplace risks and reporting them immediately to his supervisor.
It's so high, it's dangerous. You have to tell supervisor from my permission home. Or something like that. Taking the most you have to tell supervisor. He's not there. Let's just go. Maka mungkin talking away. You don't play. You don't write properly. But you don't say any accident happen. This doctor taken a very long time. So he's not trained. He cannot drive properly. I just not say.
So you're not trained to talk before then?
Not trained. But if you have that, we really get to think now. We are legally, otherwise you won't.
But remember one thing. Make or not, if someone who is ready to offer something, the next time, if you have anything important, you can come back 1 week. One accident was bad. I believe you also watch the work together, right?
Yes, sir.
Everyone's taking back. So make sure we take care of each other.
Sure. Thank you very much, sir.
I hope this video reminds us all in the waste management development who work together in making our workplace safe for everyone. We encourage you to visit the candidate microsite by scanning the QR code on the screen for more information and download the campaign poster which you can share with your fellow workers to encourage them to report unsafe work practices at the workplace to their supervisors.
Okay, guys, thank you. Okay. I'll be sharing on workplace safety and health implementation in waste management. Okay, my name is Muhammad Sharizam. Okay, you just call me Sharizam. I'm from 800 Super actually. Okay, so I'm Assistant Operations Manager, 800 Super Waste Management. I'm also Associate Trainer with WMRAS Academy and also Focus Learning Center. Okay, so if you need to contact me after this, my email comes there so you can scan it. Yeah, since I see a bit of phone, so I wait for a while. Let you scan. Okay, can I move on now? Okay, I will just be talking on 3 key factors of WSH implementation in the context of waste management industry. Okay, 3 only lah, because right now I go talk about so much. Okay, so 3 only. The 3, 1 is human factors. Number 2 is machine, related to equipment and technology. And also methods, which is the work processes and procedures. Okay, so first one, human factors. Okay, training and education. One thing I want to touch on. Okay, training and education for the workers. Okay, so to ensure that the workers are well trained and informed about the specific hazards and associated with their work, which is waste management. Okay, so this also includes providing training on proper waste handling procedure, equipment, operations, and emergency response. Okay, training also includes the do and don'ts, okay, of the EPHA and all the other regulations, EPA regulations, okay, Environmental Public Health Act and regulation. Okay, so this is for training and education, the courses that are aligned with the BWM training framework for waste management sector. Okay, so as you can see, for crew, okay, you have to attend this is for vehicle attendant, meaning the waste collection crew. Okay, to attend the WMQ waste collection management level 1. Okay, and also they made it mandatory to attend the WSHPI, we call it WPI, Workplace Safety and Health Practices Implementation. That is at the level 2 level for the force. Okay. Then for driver, okay, so if you're past driver, you attend the level 1 because there's no level 2 for class B. Okay, then if you are doing for class A and B, then you'll be level 2, and also the other 2, which is WSHPI, and also one is IAI, Incident and Accident Investigation. That is also level 2 course. Okay, for sorter, okay, normal sorter, WSQ waste sorting, management level 1, and also the WPI, Workplace Safety and Health Practices Implementation. Okay, for machine operator, okay, the first one, second one, and the third one. Okay, so waste sorting, management level 1, waste sorting, management level 2, and also WPI. And for IAI to be optional. Okay, these are other additional WSH related courses, okay, that maybe like supervisor level, okay, but even workers are, if they can, okay, at their level, they can manage these courses, they can go for it, okay. So one is WSQ develop risk management implementation plan, which is also known as B6 level 2. Okay, this one is for them to learn more about risk assessment, okay, how to do risk assessment and so on. Okay, then WMRAS implementation plan. This is B6 level 4. Okay, this is the upgrade of the B6 level 2, the previous one. This is the upgrade one. Okay, so this one is more to workplace safety and health management system. Okay, and if they can, they can also proceed to go on for WSQ certificate in workplace safety and health. Okay, there's level 8 and also WSQ advanced certificate in workplace safety and health level 3. Of course, there'll be level P and level D. Okay, so but we just touch on this first. So progressively, if your owners they can go for all this, then they'll be good. For machine equipment and technology, equipment safety, to regularly inspect, maintain, and repair machineries and equipment to ensure that they are fit for use. And also, with proper maintenance, okay, it helps to prevent incident and equipment failures. So there's some mandatory inspection for vehicles and equipment related to waste management industry, pull-lift mechanism, open top container, mobile refuse compactor, and tankers. So they are required to be inspected annually by a workshop accredited by FSC, Singapore Accreditation Council, and have a valid inspection certificate for use. Okay, usually this is done annually. And also to adhere to NEA inspection checklists. And additionally, for tankers, they must pass hydrostatic tests and obtain certification for the hose and air filtering system. For equipment safety, touching on overfilling and overloading, okay, for rear end loader truck, REL truck, hook lift truck with open top container OTC, hook lift truck with mobile refuse compactor, and lift truck that is carrying pneumatic waste conveyance system PWCS container. It shall not be overfilled and it should not be overloaded. And also the use of load cell or mid-fill sensor will prevent overloading and overfilling. Okay, now we move on to method. The last one, okay, is to have open reporting scheme wherever possible. So implementation of open reporting scheme, It's a scheme that encourages workers to report safety concern, incident, near misses, and potential hazard without the fear of retaliation. So this reporting scheme can significantly contribute to a safer work environment by allowing for the identification and mitigation of safety risks in a timely manner. Okay, so how it can be done? How it can be done? Okay, of course, you would need to have a non-retaliation policy, which means that you need to clearly communicate a non-retaliation policy to all your employees, on the workers, assuring them, so you need to assure them, okay, that they will not face any adverse consequence for reporting safety concerns, and this policy should be well publicized and enforced. So you can consider to put it up on notice boards and so on. Okay, anonymous reporting, provide a mechanism for anonymous reporting, okay, such as suggestion boxes, online reporting tools, or confidential hotline. Okay, so you can have, if you can run a hotline that does not trace the fall and so on, okay, this can encourage your employees, your workers, who may be hesitant to report concerns openly. For training and awareness, to conduct training and awareness campaigns to educate employees about the reporting system and the importance. Ensure that they understand the process for reporting incidents and hazards. And what can you do as a service buyer? Because I understand that amongst us here, there are some service buyers, okay, who may be from MCSTs, managing agents, and so on. So as a service buyer, just now what we mentioned is for waste management companies, okay, to try to follow. Okay, so what you can do, what's the part that service buyer can do is to ensure that the appointed waste management company provides adequate training for their waste management workers. You can maybe ask them whether their workers, they go through the courses, they're certified for the courses and so on. Okay, ensure that the equipment used for the waste collection are inspected and certified as required. You can also request for the certification, the valid certification. You can look through maybe the maintenance history and whatsoever. Okay, you can check with your waste management company that you want to appoint. You can also do your part to ensure that the waste collection container, whether it is the OTC open top container or the mobile garbage bin, MGVs, okay, they are not overfilled and not overloaded. Okay, and we select waste management companies with the same certification, if possible. Okay, and ideally those that adopt the open reporting scheme. Okay, with that, thank you so much.
Thank you for that introduction. Okay, so my name is Chris, General Manager at the Alba E-Waste Smart Recycling Facility, handling the Extended Producer Responsibility Program here for Singapore, collecting all the e-waste back from Singapore. The last time I spoke at MBS, it was actually for a fire safety forum, and I was kind of wondering why I was invited to speak at that forum. And it became clear to me that all the other presenters were talking about fire safety issues with PMBs, with lithium-ion batteries, with EV batteries. And I suddenly realized that's actually the material that I have lying in my warehouse. So I guess I am the relevant person to talk on some fire safety measures for lithium-ion batteries. So today, I'll talk a little bit about the program that we run here in Singapore for collecting back e-waste, and then I'll go into a little bit more details about specific hazards that we see in collecting e-waste. E-waste is the fastest growing solid waste stream. I think everybody now can't imagine living without your mobile phones, your tablets, your router at home, your internet at home, and everything that comes with it. But those are the small ICT equipment. We also have your TV, your refrigerator, and your air conditioner. We collect about 6,000 to 7,000 metric tons of e-waste here in Singapore on an annual basis. So why is it important to recycle e-waste? Two factors to it. On the one side, there's important resources to be collected back from e-waste. The concentration of metals in e-waste is actually higher than the concentration that we find in ore that we mine from the ground. On top of the normal metals that we see, copper, aluminium, steel, we can actually also find precious metal in electronic waste. Little fun fact, the Tokyo 2020 medals were actually made from metals that were recovered from electronic waste. On the other hand, if e-waste is not recycled properly, it can be harmful for the environment as well as being harmful for the people involved in doing the recycling process because chemicals are used in recovering all the different metals from electronic waste. So what happened in Singapore? In 2018, NEA did a research study to find out how much e-waste was actually in Singapore, and they came up with a figure of about 60,000 metric tons, or about 11 kilograms per each person in Singapore. As we can see from the top little pie chart, the blue one, it was mostly washing machine, refrigerators, and TVs that were being mentioned by the public. Below that was a question of what was being done with it. So it was either being traded in, thrown away, or handed back to the delivery man. And you see the spread. Those were the main activities of what was happening with e-waste at the time. Many then opted to use a extended producer responsibility program. I think we're seeing this more and more for different waste streams. We're seeing it now in packaging, but for e-waste, it's been around for a very long time. An extended producer responsibility program means that the producer of the original equipment is held responsible to ensuring that that material is collected back and recycled properly. So in our case, the producers of washing machines, laptops, and computers are the ones that are paying for our services to collect it back and ensure that it's properly recycled. How is that taken care of? It's actually gazetted in law within Singapore under the Resource Sustainability Act, which clearly set out the responsibility for the producers, for the PRS operators, for retailers, who is allowed to collect and what is going to happen with it. So it's clearly set out in the law, and that resulted in NEA issuing a tender for the PRS, the Producer Responsibility Scheme operator. 3 different parties participated in that, and Aldo was lucky enough to win that tender. So we are operating the first ever Producer Responsibility Scheme in Singapore. We started in the middle of 2021, and we'll be running it to the mid of 2026. That's our actual facility in Tuas. So what are we responsible for as the PRS operator? On the first hand, we are to develop the programs to encourage the public to recycle their e-waste. Secondly, we have to provide the different e-waste collection avenues for e-waste to be collected and recycled properly. We collect and transport the collected e-waste to our facility, analyze it, weigh it, and then we send it to a licensed NEA recycler here in Singapore. We run a similar program in Hong Kong, where we do the collection and the recycling. Here in Singapore, we only do the collection and the management of the system. We employ local recyclers to do the actual processing of the material. We audit these recyclers and ensure that they have proper health and safety measures in place. And lastly, we have an extensive data management system that records what we collected, from where, from which location, and which recycler was it sent to, and what materials was it broken down into. So we have an extensive amount of information about e-waste that's being collected in Singapore and where it's going for its final processing. Currently, we cover these different materials. On the left, you see the different categories that we collect. I normally subdivide them into the 6 different categories, being ICT equipment, computer, printer, router, monitors, and the large household appliances, fridges, washing machines, TVs, air conditioners. E-mobility devices is an interesting one. I think everybody is fully aware of the fire safety issues around PMDs, so we collect those as well. Interesting little fact, the PMDs that are confiscated by LTA doesn't want them in their warehouse because of the fire safety measures, and therefore they're lying in my warehouse. We collect batteries, EV batteries, and light bulbs. So, out of these materials, what hazardous materials do we see? On the one hand, we have the batteries. We all know that lithium-ion batteries can combust by themselves, And a lithium ion battery does not require oxygen to burn. It's called basically thermal runaway, and it will burn even if it's underwater. So there's a serious concern there. We have basically flammable gases. We have mercury. We have refrigerants that are ozone depleting, and we have some waste oil. Here we see where that takes place in the respective material. So, interesting fact we have on the one side the refrigerant gases that are being used in air conditioners and fridges, but we also have flammable gas, basically flammable gas refrigerant being used in fridges as well. So that's what we see happening in fridges. We see mercury in the backlight of monitors and TVs, as well as in lamps. And the rest of the material is predominantly the lithium ion batteries. This is what our scheme looks like if you basically put it into a bit of a picture. The producers have all those different items that they put into the market, and we have different mechanisms to collect them back. Maybe you've seen our e-waste bins around Singapore in a shopping center or in some of the electronic shops, or maybe at a supermarket. We do go out to the community and organize e-drives where we will go out to the community to make it easier for people to dispose of their e-waste. The other aspect is retail take back. If you buy a new washing machine from a retailer nowadays and you have it delivered to your home, you can actually just ask the delivery guy to take back an old washing machine. So you can take back an old similar item. It will go back to the retailer and we will collect it back from there and ensure that it's properly recycled. The bins in retailers, we can doorstep collections, and you can drop it off at our depot as well. So all these different mechanisms to blend back electronic waste. It comes to our depot where we do the weighing. So the bin that might be sitting here in Marina Bay Sands will come back to the facility. We will weigh how much e-waste was actually collected back from that bin. From our bins, we collect mixed materials, or maybe from a retailer, we'll get a mixed OTC of washing machines and fridges and things like that. It comes back to our facility. We will separate them out into single commodity streams, meaning that it's the washing machines on their own, the fridges on their own, and then we will send it to a recycler. We have different recyclers for different materials, because I think you can imagine that a recycler that can do a screen is not well suited to do a washing machine. So we have different recyclers for different material streams. Any hazardous material that might come out of the process in the form of refrigerant gases, flammable gases, or mercury from lamps, or how printed circuit boards are processed, we will want to know what the respective downstream is. So we will verify that it's still being processed by a proper downstream that has the respective health and safety measures in place. This is what it looks like in reality. Yeah, we have our bins sitting in retail shop. My rule of thumb is normally that if you can buy it there, you can probably return it there. Yeah. So the first one is what we call our 3-in-1 bin, because it can take 3 different material streams. It can take batteries, it can take light bulbs, and ICT equipment. The second one is what we call our battery and bulb bin. At a supermarket, they might only sell batteries and bulbs, and therefore that's the item that you can return there. The next one is what we call our top containers, where we collect material back from retailers for the one-to-one take back from the retailer campaign. We do also work with town councils. We work with all their 17 town councils in Singapore for their bulky waste removal program, offering 80% of Singapore a free removal of their large household appliances, their fridges, their washing machine. You can just call up your town council, have it picked up from them. We will pick it up from the respective conservancy contractor and ensure that it's recycled properly. Lastly is our e-drives. Once per quarter, we will go out into the community and we will organize these drives within the HDB blocks to make it easier for people to dispose of their e-waste. What does it look like in reality? We have over 600 different locations in Singapore where people can drop off their e-waste. Now, on the right-hand side, you see our different bins. The 3-in-1 bin, the battery-only bin. Maybe at certain locations, they only sell batteries. So we have that cylindrical bin that can collect back batteries. Regrettably, they're often at the checkout counters, and therefore they quite often get filled with receipts instead of batteries, but we have to deal with it anyway. The 2 bottom bins are for batteries and bulbs, and one of them also takes the fluorescent tubes. If we look at how that's spread over Singapore, With about 1.4 million households in Singapore, we cover about 90% of them within 500 meters for the disposal of batteries and light bulbs. If we include ICT to that mix, that drops to about 70%, just under 70% of the households in Singapore that we cover within 500 meters. So we try to make it as easy as possible for people to dispose of their respective e-waste. And this is our extensive IT system where we record what was collected from where and where it was sent to. So we have GPS tracking on our trucks. We have individual codes on our respective bins. So yes, we do know exactly how much e-waste was collected from MES. We do outreach events as well. We have talks at school, talks at events like this. We do organize events for International E-Waste Day. The middle one is the one that we held just recently with Dr. Amy Gore and our guest of honor. And we have our respective online activities as well as campaigns that we might specifically run for Chinese New Year to encourage people to recycle their e-waste. So now we get into the part of how do we handle the hazardous material around e-waste. The biggest concern is, of course, the lithium-ion batteries and the flammable gases that we might find in refrigerators. As you can see, for batteries, they come in a lot of different sorts and sizes. They might be in the phone, they might be out of the phone, they might be in the laptop, they might be out of the laptop, all different kinds of forms and sizes. As you can look at our storage mechanism, we have them in metal bins in big bag. This is just for the case if something happens, we can still move it around and basically bring it outside the facility or put it underwater if that is required. You can also see some of the fire bombs that we have on the bins behind it. So we do have active fire safety measures for any of our lithium-ion batteries that we store within our warehouse. As I mentioned, we have about 300 of these bins spread out all over Singapore, basically in shopping centers, in retail stores. And we realized that this was a serious concern, or if there's something goes wrong with these bins, how are we aware and what can we do about it? So all these large stream-run bins are actually fitted with a fill sensor, movement sensor, and temperature sensor. Not sure it's quite clear on here, but that shows the fill level, and next to it, it shows the temperature in the respective bin. So might something go wrong in these bins? Might there be a thermal runaway from one of the lithium-ion batteries? We hope to be alerted as soon as possible, and we can take action accordingly. So try to use technology to catch it before it's too late. For the transportation of lithium-ion batteries, we use dedicated routes. We have the respective safety measures in place. And when we transport large quantities, we'll always have a second person in place to keep an eye on it. Because in our experience, thermal runaway, we have seen it happen with some of the smaller batteries, but it usually happens during movement of the material. When it's stationary, it seems to be quite okay. But when you start moving it around, things can go wrong. And of course, we track our trucks basically via GPS. Within my warehouse, I have a dedicated area where I store this material. Specifically, in this case, it's in the center of my warehouse. So it's away from any staircases, any safety exits, and it's always under visual supervision. We can always see if something happens to it. People walk by it on a daily basis, and we can keep a close eye on that. We also have fire extinguishers placed there. On the one hand, our normal fire extinguishers, but in certain cases, we also have specific fire extinguisher for lithium-ion batteries. They are out there. Like I mentioned, lithium-ion batteries do not need oxygen to burn, so we do need some special equipment. Might something go wrong with these items. The other mechanism that we have in place, well, what happens when the facility is not operational, when nobody's there? Well, I have an infrared camera that keeps an eye on this material for me, and it continuously monitors the temperature of my battery stored in my warehouse. And if something does go wrong, I actually get an SMS that basically that an increased temperature has been reached. Luckily, this is never, well, it does go off on a regular basis. but it's usually been the forklift is basically near this material, and the infrared camera picks up the forklift. So far we've not had any fire incidences whatsoever. My last slide basically shows me what I just had to the SMS system. I'll get a warning that there's been an increase in temperature has been noted. I can immediately go onto my phone, have a look at the material, see what's going on, where is the hotspot, is it something of concern, so we can take immediate action even if the facility is closed. And like I said, lithium-ion batteries do not need a spark to ignite. They can combust on themselves, and when they start burning, I think everybody's seen the cases of the PMDs here in Singapore, the number of fires that taken place in HDB flats, and the fatalities that we've had around it. So it is a serious concern, and crushing of batteries is definitely a no-no. At least not when they're not discharged yet. That was the end of my presentation. I thank you very much.
I'll see you again. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the final segment for the day, the question and answer session. Please allow me to introduce our distinguished panel once again. We have Mr. Anderson Ng from the Ministry of Manpower, the Shang Zhang from 800 Super Waste Management Private Limited, and the Boss Creed, General Manager from Alpha E-Waste Manufacturing Private Limited. Moderating the session is Ms. Melissa Tan, Chairperson of the Waste Management and Recycling Association of Singapore. She has sat through several informative presentations, so there's already quite a few questions on the Pigeon Phone live test. Ladies and gentlemen, to pose a question for the panel, please scan the QR code displayed on the screen for both rooms with the mode.at and enter passcode WSH WMI 2023. I shall now hand over the session to Ms. Tan. Ms. Tan, please.
Thank you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, as we approach the last segment of our program, first of all, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to our speakers for sharing your invaluable expertise during your earlier presentations. The insights provided has certainly enriched our understanding, of the nature of waste management. As we have also discussed, that waste management goes beyond routine processes of collection, transportation, recovery, and disposal. Our dedicated waste management workers also play a crucial role in this process, navigating various risks associated with hazardous materials, slips, tricks, falls, machinery use, lifting. I think it's evident that skilled supervision, right, is needed or is crucial for our sector. So I'm sure our audience now have some, a lot of questions or burning questions to our experts. So it's also important for your active participation to make this forum truly enriching and informative. So you may just want to take a few moments to post your questions via the Pigeonhole link on your screen or by scanning the QR code. The QR code at the top. Let's just make good use of this opportunity to delve with people in the complexity of waste management and ensure that every aspect related to both safety and health of the sector is thoroughly explored. Thank you once again for your attention. I noticed that there are quite a number of questions that is addressed to Anderson. So maybe Anderson would like to share with us, right, how and when a certain unsafe stockpiles level or limits in the GWDS, or is there any other guidelines or best practices that the industries and companies can adopt to ensure safe levels?
Glad to be the first one answering your question. So, someone asked to me, how can I maintain safe stock level within the local Well, sadly, we do not have that line because it's high, it's too high. No, how much is too low? However, basis of the message was to conduct a risk assessment. What kind of waste are you storing in the workplace? How compact this? What are your labels? How big is your workplace? These are some of the considerations that one would look at for, can say, the storage high of material. The waste is very high. CDM currently has a guideline for 9 meters. And I do not think that 9 meters is also a safe height. Though on the WSH, could you reduce the height as low as reasonably practicable? 1 meter, 2 meter, etc. What can you do? Look at the storage capacity that is awarded to a company through a license. Adhere to this requirement, ensure stockpile are properly managed in your workplace.
Thank you. The next question to Shabiza. The final question. So there's one question for you is that some of our waste management staff, right, have difficulty in command of English language. So does WMRAS have any direction to make the waste management courses different languages?
Okay, so for this, right, the courses are not conducted in English, again, only in way. Again, it is because there are some laws that we need to extend in English when we come to the acts and the regulation. Okay, so the course has been approved by NEA, SSG in English. So we'll continue to conduct it in English, but no worries, continue to send your workers, your staff in for training. Okay, WMRAS will, they will know what to do. Okay, you can actually contact them, okay, and then they can make arrangement. So if let's say your workers can only speak in a certain language, for example Malay, okay, then they may assign to a Malay speaking trainer so that they'll be able to like translate for the workers, for the trainees. And if your workers are Chinese speaking, then they may be able to also do the same thing. Yeah, so continue to send your workers for training. It's not just because it's in English, then you think that, oh, my workers will not be able to pass, will not be able to go through, or my workers will be insulted when they come in and see that it's in English language. Yeah, so that doesn't matter. The language doesn't matter. Just send your workers for the training. Yeah. Thank you.
I assume that it's important to have our company's workers certified, right?
Right.
Yeah. So the next question addressed to Juan.
The top, yeah.
What are the WSH control measures does LMA take for staff handling the e-waste?
The specific one for e-waste, like I said, for the, as we don't do any of the processing of the equipment, we don't, sometimes we don't directly encounter, but we also basically make sure that we handle all the lamps safely. We want to avoid any breakage of the lamps, and we store them in sealed containers, the lamps, because the concern there is fumes from the mercury fumes from the lamps. If we look at the flammable gases in the refrigerator, as we don't process the refrigerators, we haven't encountered any issues there. But as soon as we see any breakage, we should ensure that it's ventilated properly, place it in a ventilated area so it can disperse in the environment. And for the lithium-ion batteries, I think basically what I've shared, all the mechanisms that we have in place, all the safety mechanisms that we have in place, in the case that there might be a fire resulting from the lithium-ion batteries.
assume that there would be a certain SOP that has been put in place in your organization, right? And your workers or staff is handling it, right? You would have already conducted your own in-house training for them.
Yeah. So, like I said, those measures that I mentioned just now. So, specifically for the lithium-ion batteries, if something is noticed there, we immediately move it out of the warehouse, and that's why we have them in the metal containers. They do have wheels, but we immediately move it outside the warehouse and we put it underwater, because one of the mechanisms still to contain a lithium-ion battery is to reduce the temperature. So the lithium-ion fire is not put out by water, but your main mechanism of the fighting is to reduce the temperature. So we just submerge it in water, and that's why we have it in metal containers. So the SOB is urged to bring it outside and submerge it until it also discharges the battery, so it will stop it from reoccurring again.
Thank you. Well, I would like to go back to Anderson again. On the question about anomalous reporting, right? How do you work on that part? Or how would company ensure or have better control of their employees doing such a open reporting scheme? Anomalous?
It's a very tough question, but I believe management-wise, the set rule and example. Mentioned in my speech earlier, it's important to aim to grasp report and to fortify the strong relationship between employers and employees. They feel comfortable, come forward to you. In a good dialogue session, or in a conducive closed-loop environment. Without that, I believe safety in the workplace will never improve. Workers making anomalous report. Mentioned in my speech earlier, there are various avenues I can look into that we has writing to MOM, it's a feedback, provide MOM on the unsafe conditions within the workplace. Or even talk to your union. I believe some of you here are some union. To your union representative, so you will make known of this reporting to MOM. I hope this clarifies.
Can you also share, right, whether MOM or WSH is able to provide more collaterals or guides specifically to waste management, where we can disseminate to the companies, or if not disseminating, maybe display to your website where you can take records?
I believe MOM can do more, especially together with our counterparts from the WSH Council. We can actually share more collateral or even guidelines like we have since published today. I think in recent months, emphasis of waste management is gathering a lot of highlights from, as you can see from our MOM Facebook page. We have actually shared some of our recent stop order relating to waste management companies. So we are trying to do more, to share more information so everyone in this niche sector can actually learn more with them.
One more very interesting question, which I also would like to know. Like, how will MOS enforce waste segregation or declaration requirements on waste generators? Because most regulations are placing responsibilities on the waste collector.
Yeah, this question addressed today. For this question, I like to let everyone know that every workplace, workplace under the WSH, everyone do respect each and every workplace. And for the waste generator was in the upstream, we also look at SDN whether waste are being stored, disposed properly. Although as the GWM or TIWC, we feel that UM is punishing rule as responsibilities are the waste collector side, but I'm afraid you're wrong. We do take enforcement action against the waste generator. But what can you do as our downstream? Work with the waste generator. Perhaps coming up with identify reduce treatment costs by encouraging them to segregate their waste properly. So I believe some of the PWC especially are early doing something like that. So you will have less risk at the downstream level.
I have a questions addressed to Font. What is the special fire extinguisher used for the lithium battery fires in addition to Class A? And the second question, very interesting, is that can the company request for e-bins to be placed in their factory, and is it chargeable?
Let me take the easy one first. The second question. Yes, you can approach us to get one of our bins. There is a small charge involved just for the cost of the bin and the collection cost, but it's quite, it really isn't substantial. So if you do have, would like one of our bins in your company, we have different options available. So just reach out to, call the customer services and they'll be more than happy to help you out if you'd like to have a bin, or if you'd like to organize your own collection drive or something else, we're happy to work with you to make that happen. Now back to the first question. When I saw it pop up, I quickly had a look at it and say one good question about this fire extinguisher, because it is categorized as a lithium ion battery fire extinguisher. But then when I read into it, it already basically says that it's suitable for fire A and lithium battery fires. Safety note, lithium battery fire gives off highly toxic fuel. But then it also states that there's no real EN standard yet for a fire extinguisher for lithium ion batteries. So please look it up yourself. They don't come cheap. About $1,450 for one of them. And I'll be honest, I don't know. We were alerted by this by our German counterpart, where they were using those specific fire extinguishers to safeguard their lithium ion batteries, and hence we sourced for them here locally. I think the essence is that a lithium ion battery does not require oxygen. So if only oxygen is removed from the equation, a lithium ion battery will continue to burn. And I'm assuming that this fire extinguisher addresses that. So regrettably, I don't know the exact specifics. I was looking at one of the fire extinguisher vendors here, but I didn't see it sitting there. So just do a search on lithium fire extinguisher and you'll find all the details about it.
Thank you. Well, then my next two questions are for tourism, right? So one of the question was asked, when if I have a safety-related certificates that were issued more than 20 years ago, do I still need to attend any new safety-related courses? And how effective are the newly implemented PWM courses for the waste management industry?
Okay, so for those who have safety-related certificates and be issued very, very long ago, okay, my suggestion is please do come to top up some of the because some of the things that I'm taught now, it may be based on the new technologies and stuff. So of course, if you have those that are 20, 30 years ago, it may be still it still be valid for you. Okay, but just come back for some courses, the short ones, and then come up. And for the PWM courses, how effective they are, yes, they are effective, of course. They have been doing this training, okay, and at the end of the training, it's not just training, there's also an assessment portion. Okay, so the assessment will be able to have the learner's understanding on whatever that was taught. Yeah, so hopefully when the learner exit the classroom, you'll be able to take some takeaways for them to use at work and so on. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Now my three speakers temporarily take a break. So now I'm putting on my panelist hats, right? So I'm going to ask my own questions to myself. Right. So the first question from the floor is for me to elaborate the key differences between ISO 24161 and SS 594 for definitions of waste management. And will it be similar to SS 594 as well as the standards are extensive, consuming for SMEs? I will continue to share the schemes and support that helps SME adopt these standards and best practices. So just let me explain. SS 594 is a Singapore standard. So the definitions that we have been using in Singapore language or the terms are for Singaporeans to know or Singapore waste management to know. For example, we will talk about bin center. So everybody knows what is called a bin center, right? But for ISO 4161, in other countries, they may not be using bin center. They could be just using the word as a storage area. Because some of the countries, they may not even be using the plastic bins, the green bins or the blue bins to store their green waste or their rubbish or their recyclable materials. So for ISO 24161, that is where we gather different countries. As I mentioned, we have about 20 over countries participating. Right? So we gather these countries and get of all their various vocabularies of the words that they use, and then we harmonize the words, common languages that we will use not just in Singapore but in various countries. So it becomes the international language or words for everybody to adopt. I think this part which I need to stress is also very important for our companies here to understand the importance of the ISO standards, because that will help to facilitate you in your proposal writing for your business expansion, or it could be for your government tender planning to come. And which I also understand when I first, as a company, when I first was exposed to ISO standards, honestly, I also blur. I also don't know what is going on. But it took me a while to understand the importance of the standards. And I also agree that it's time consuming, for SMEs, and then the standards are very lengthy. It may not be easy for you to understand, but not to worry, because we have Enterprise Singapore, where we have a standardization program department. We have SSC, and you also have members. Our members are around, or secretariats are around. So if you need assistance or you need us to explain what are standards that is being put in place, whether it's for waste management or whether it's for refuse truck collection, whether it is for circularity of various type of materials like plastic, biochar, or ash, we will have the appropriate or the relevant people with the relevant expertise to be able to share with them. So now coming back, I assume my speakers now have a short break, right? So now, coming back again, so this question, I'm not too sure who should I address me to, So from the floor, it says that studies have shown that there's a long-term exposure, VOCS, it's a health risk to workers and people exposed to this center of food waste digester and compactors. And there's no attention has been given to me. Anyone answer?
Sorry, I have to answer this question again. So, for the POC question, it's actually the closed system. Like what you can do is to provide workers with the sufficient PPE and the correct PPE. And also carry out team air monitoring to look at the POC levels at this area, and how can we improve to letting air through LEVs or providing natural ventilation. So to actually provide workers in safer place. I hope the question answer is All right. Anyone want to share?
I think also with regards to the length of the exposure, how long they're inside the bin center or the bin center with food digester and compactor. So I believe for waste collection workers, they just there for a short while to do the collection, but more for the conservancy workers or for the cleaning contractors, they may be there for a longer time. So we need to shorten the exposure, or being inside the bin center itself.
Okay, so I'm going to take on one last question for our speakers, which I think I'm also very interested to know, right? This is addressed to Fawn. For laptop disposal, right? So for me as a consumer or for negotiate for consumer or companies, will our LMAL do a reformatting of the laptop before it is being sent for proper disposal?
So data security is a major issue, not only for laptops, mobile phones, computers, hard drives, across the board, any device that contains data. We normally recommend the public do their first level of security measures. Do a factory reset, reformat your hard drive, or take the hard drive out and get a whack with a hammer. So your first line of defense is yourself. If that's not the case, it is perfectly safe to drop it in our bins because our first course of action for our recyclers is to ensure that any data containing device is removed and destroyed. So we do that as well as the first step, but we still recommend anybody to do your own, take your own safety precautions first. If you cannot, basically if it doesn't power up money, it is perfectly safe to throw it in our bins. And our first course of action is to ensure that any data is destroyed. So I hope that answers your question.
It's very important. Thank you. Well, I would like to summarize or, to draw to a conclusion where I would like to invite our three speakers here to give us a concluding statement as a takeaway to the audience. We will go with next.
Yeah, my concluding line was reporting safe life. I really hope that everyone, even your capacity as a member of public, who feedback in MOM and let us know where the unsafe condition so can save more life. Thank you.
So for mine will be don't be scared to attend courses, okay, especially for workers. Okay, just come for the course. Okay, we will guide you throughout. Don't worry. Language is not a barrier. Okay, we can always translate. We make you understand, and then we make sure that when you leave the classroom, you have all the knowledge that you need to know about. Okay.
I guess that brings it to me to wrap it up. My remark would be lithium-ion batteries are a serious concern. So don't remove them from your system and don't meddle with them. If you basically damage them or destroy them, they pose a serious fire hazard and a serious safety issue to everybody involved. I think we've seen the issues of the EMDs. We don't want that happening. So try not to meddle with lithium-ion batteries. Place them in our bins and we will ensure they'll recycle properly.
Thank you to our speakers and thank you once again for all your kind attention.
Thank you.